There was this strange electricity in the air that night, one of those quiet tensions your gut picks up on before your mind catches up. I remember adjusting my watch while sitting in the car, double-checking the address Tara texted me. I hadn't been to her new place yet, but she'd been hyping it up all week. "Come dressed nice," the text said. "Trust me, it'll be worth it." I figured it was a small birthday dinner. Just me, Jenny, and a few close friends. But when Jenny bailed last minute, claiming a headache and telling me she'd meet me there after a nap, something in my stomach clenched. Still, I forced myself not to spiral. That had become my routine lately, talking myself out of worrying about her. I parked a block away. Walked slow. The spring night was warm, full of that sort of buzzing life that makes you feel like anything could happen. I had no idea. As I reached Tara's door, I noticed it was cracked open slightly. Loud music was pulsing from inside, and people were laughing. Glasses clinking. I heard someone yell my name just as I pushed the door open. Surprise! Lights flashed. Confetti guns went off. I blinked, stunned. It was a full-blown party, more than 20 people packed into the living room, some I hadn't seen in years. Matt was holding a phone up to record, grinning. Tara ran toward me with a drink in hand. And then everything slowed. I scanned the room, smiling stupidly, nodding, pretending like my brain hadn't just shut down for maintenance. And that's when I saw the couch. Front and center against the far wall. Jenny. In a red dress I hadn't seen before. Her legs folded over a man's lap like they belonged there. His hand on her thigh. Her hand in his hair. Laughing. Laughing. She didn't even notice me at first. Neither of them did. They were too wrapped up in their little moment, completely unaware that the guy she was cheating on was standing 10 feet away watching the whole performance. I didn't move. I didn't blink. It was Matt's phone lowering slowly that made Jenny finally turn around. Her smile fell so fast it was almost comical. She didn't jump up. She didn't even move right away. Just locked eyes with me, her jaw slightly open like her brain short-circuited. The guy shifted underneath her, confused, looking over his shoulder. Someone let out a soft, "Oh no." Jenny stood abruptly, like the couch burned her, adjusting her dress in quick, jerky movements. The guy stood too, slower, wiping his hands on his jeans. And I just stood there, still holding the stupid gift bag I brought. Nobody said a word. I stepped forward slowly, scanning the faces around me. My old college roommate Kevin looked like he wanted to vanish into the floor. Matt turned off his phone. Tara whispered something to someone behind her, eyes wide. And Jenny. Jenny finally spoke. "You're early," she said, like I just walked in on her trying to wrap my present. Early. That's what she said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "This isn't what it looks like." Just a cold, flat. "You're early." I laughed. Not a polite laugh. Not even a hysterical one. It came out sharp, loud, awkward, a raw bark that made the room flinch. "You should have timed the betrayal better," I said, louder than I intended. The guy, he still hadn't said a word, shifted uncomfortably. I turned toward him. "What's your name?" I asked, calm now. Weirdly calm. He looked at Jenny like she was supposed to protect him. "Mark," he muttered. I nodded. "Mark. Cool. So how long's this been going on?" Jenny stepped in. "Kyle, can we just not do this here?" "Oh," I said, voice rising again. "So here's the problem?" "Not this." I pointed at the spot where her heel had knocked over a cup on the floor. "Not you dry humping some guy in front of half our friends?" "It's not what it looks like," she said finally, which only made me laugh again. "You had your tongue in his mouth, Jenny. Were you transferring vital oxygen?" Her eyes narrowed. "You don't get to act like some innocent victim. You've been distant for months. You stopped trying. You always put work first. What did you expect me to do?" There it was. The spin. The justification. The blame game. All while still smelling like another man. I took one last look at the room. Everyone had that same look, pity, awkwardness, some quiet curiosity. None of them said a thing. They just stood, frozen, sipping drinks, watching a slow-motion car crash. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "Cool. Great party. I'm just gonna go now. Enjoy your night." And I walked out. Nobody followed me. Except the sound of her voice saying my name. Not shouting. Just once. Soft. Guilty. I didn't turn around. I drove aimlessly that night, windows down, the cold air cutting my skin in just the right way to keep me from losing it completely. I didn't cry. Not then. Not yet. I just gripped the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to the world. That dumb gift bag still sat in the passenger seat, mocking me. Inside was a card I'd written the night before. Something cheesy about how she made my life better. How I felt lucky every day she chose me. I didn't open it. I didn't throw it away. I just let it sit there. I ended up in a grocery store parking lot around midnight, staring at the flickering lights of a 24-hour deli. I sat there for over an hour, thinking, replaying every moment from the last few months that didn't make sense. Her turning her phone face down at dinner, the smell of cologne that wasn't mine on her clothes, the weird attitude shifts, the way she started picking fights out of nowhere. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. I must have looked insane. Sitting there in the dark with a party hat still stuck on my head from the surprise I never got to enjoy. Eventually I drove home. Our house, my house, felt different when I stepped inside. Cold, empty, too quiet. I didn't expect her to be there, but she was. She sat on the edge of the couch, still in the red dress, still trying to act composed like she hadn't just been caught grinding on another man in front of 24 people. Her makeup was smeared now, not from crying. No, I don't think she even had the decency to cry, but from the chaos of trying to explain her way out of it to people who no longer wanted to hear it. "You left," she said, like that was the part that bothered her. "You stayed," I replied, closing the door slowly behind me. "With him." She stood, arms crossed. That posture. God, I've seen it 100 times. Her "I'm in control" stance. "I told him to leave after you left. I didn't think it would go that way." "Go what way?" I shot back. "Did you think I'd walk in, catch you playing tonsil hockey with another man, and just smile and take a cupcake?" She winced at that. Good. I wanted her to feel that sting. "I messed up," she said finally. I nodded, staring at her. "Yeah, you did." Silence. And then, like she couldn't help herself, she said the one thing I wasn't ready for. "But you haven't exactly been present, Kyle." I blinked. That was her move? That was her defense? "I work. I come home. I ask you how your day was, Jenny. I try to make plans. You're the one who started closing doors. I wasn't the one hiding a second life under a red dress." She sat back down, rubbed her temples. "It wasn't a second life." "Really?" I walked over, grabbed the remote off the coffee table just to have something in my hand. "How long?" "Don't lie." She paused. "Too long." 3 months, she whispered. My heart actually flinched, like something inside pulled tight. "You brought him into my birthday party." I didn't yell it. I didn't have to. The words did the damage on their own. "I didn't mean for that to happen. He wasn't supposed to. He just showed up." "Okay. Your boyfriend just showed up at your husband's surprise party, right?" I told him it wasn't the right night. "But it was the right dress, huh? That one got her." She looked away, jaw tight. I sat down, not near her, just on the far armchair, the one we always joked was too stiff to sit in. I suddenly liked it that way. I stared at the floor, the wood grain, the little scratches we used to laugh about from moving furniture around during one of our spontaneous living room makeovers. I didn't recognize this room anymore. "You didn't even flinch when I walked in," I said quietly. "You looked bored." I panicked. "You looked bored." I didn't know how to fix it. I shook my head. "You didn't even try." Another silence. "I'm sorry," she said. "No," I replied. "You're caught." She stood again, this time slowly. "What now?" I laughed bitterly. "Now? Now I sleep in the guest room. You sleep in guilt. And tomorrow we figure out how we unwind whatever this mess is. You don't get to be my wife tonight. You gave that away on the couch at a party I was supposed to enjoy." And I left her standing there, alone in the same red dress she thought made her powerful. That night, I locked the guest room door, and I finally cried. I didn't sleep. Not really. I lay on the too short guest bed with one arm over my eyes, the other hand clenched in the blanket like I was afraid it might drift off and betray me too. The house was painfully quiet, like even the walls were holding their breath. Around 4 a.m., I heard footsteps, slow, hesitant ones. They stopped at the guest room door. I waited, then the softest knock. I didn't answer. Another knock, slightly louder. "Kyle?" she whispered. I stayed silent. She waited a full minute before her shadow moved away. I heard the creak of the floorboards as she retreated down the hall. The sun came up like it didn't care. It always does. And in that cruel morning light, Everything looked sharper, realer. I got up, went straight to the kitchen, and started making coffee like it was any other day. The smell filled the room while I stared at the backsplash we installed together 2 years ago, tiny blue tiles she picked because they looked like the ocean. I used to love them. Now I wanted to rip every single one off the wall. She came into the kitchen wearing one of my old hoodies like it was still allowed. Hair a mess. Eyes puffy. "Morning," she said. I didn't reply. I poured my coffee. "Can we talk?" "Sure," I said without looking at her. "Why don't you tell me everything you didn't last night?" She sat at the table, hands wrapped around a mug she didn't pour. "His name's Mark. We met at the hospital. He's a tech. It started small. Coffee. Lunch. Talking. I laughed once. Right? All the innocent prelude stuff before the couch Olympics." Her lips tightened. "I didn't plan for it to get physical." "God, stop talking like it's a board meeting. You cheated. You lied. You snuck around while I was at work thinking I had a wife who loved me." "I did love you." "Don't," I snapped. "Don't say that. Because if you did, you wouldn't have picked someone else." "I was lonely, Kyle." "So you filled the silence with another man's hands? That's your excuse." "I tried talking to you. You always brushed me off." "No," I said. "I brushed off your vague sighs and cryptic half-sentences. You don't get to rewrite this to make me the villain. You had a choice. And you made it. Over and over again." Silence stretched out. I sipped my coffee. "I ended it with him," she said. "Not soon enough. Do you even want to fix this? Do you?" I asked. She looked at me, tears threatening. "Yes." But I didn't believe her. Not because she wasn't crying, she was. But because it was her. And I didn't recognize her anymore. "I saw the way you looked at him," I said. "Like he made you feel alive. Like I was just furniture." "That's not true." "Then why did everyone in that room look at me like I just caught something they already knew about?" She flinched at that. "They knew, didn't they?" She didn't answer. "Tara? Matt? Who else?" Still nothing. "Jesus, Jenny." "I asked them not to tell you," she said, barely audible. "I thought I could end it before it became too late." "Too late was when you invited him into our lives. You know that, right? You humiliated me. I didn't think he'd come to the party. You were sitting on his lap. I didn't know you were coming that early. You shouldn't have been touching him at all." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to lose you. You lost me when you climbed onto him and forgot the room had walls." I stood up, pacing now. My hands were shaking, and not from the coffee. "I'm not sure what hurts worse, the betrayal or how little you respected me while doing it." She looked up, eyes pleading. "I swear, I didn't love him." "That's supposed to make this better?" "No. But it's the truth." "Cool. So you wrecked our marriage for nothing." And then I saw something in her face shift. Anger. Bitterness. Like the mask slipped. "Well, maybe if you hadn't been so emotionally unavailable, I wouldn't have needed someone else to talk to." I stopped. There it was. The real Jenny. Not the one crying. Not the one whispering, "I'm sorry." This one, this version, was the one who justified everything with her own sense of victimhood. The one who'd twist a knife into someone's back and then scream when they bled on her dress. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and turned at the door. "You want to talk? Fine. We'll talk later. Right now, I need to go figure out if there's still a version of myself somewhere that doesn't feel like a fool." She didn't try to stop me this time. Not because she respected the space, but because she didn't know what to say when she wasn't in control of the lie. I didn't go far. Just drove. Nowhere in particular. I didn't call anyone. Didn't post online. Didn't listen to music. Just the sound of the engine and the occasional buzz from my phone, which I let sit untouched in the center console. I wasn't ready to read whatever pity-soaked messages were rolling in from people who were probably at that party last night, watching it all unfold like it was some reality show they couldn't look away from. Eventually, I ended up at a park Jenny and I used to go to back when things were still good. Before the distance. Before the secrets. I sat at a picnic table, letting the wind push at my jacket, staring at nothing. My head felt like a war zone, every thought screaming over the next, every memory dragging me into questions I didn't want answers to. I couldn't stop picturing it. That moment. Her on his lap. That look on her face. Careless. Unapologetic. Comfortable. Like she'd done it before. Like she planned to do it again. And now? She was crying in the kitchen, acting like she didn't know how this happened. That was the part that made my jaw clench the most, not just the betrayal, but the way she weaponized confusion. Like it was all just some accident that she happened to trip and land in another man's lap 3 months in a row. It wasn't an affair. It was a pattern. A choice, again and again. With Mark, with the lying, with the way she turned our friends into accomplices by dragging them into the cover-up. I didn't know who I was madder at, her or the people who watched it all unfold and stayed silent. By the time I pulled my phone out, I had 10 missed calls from Jenny. 3 texts. Jenny, please come home. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do. Jenny, can we please just talk about this without yelling? Jenny, I made a mistake. I love you. Please don't throw us away. Throw us away. The irony of that nearly made me laugh again. She acted like this was a choice I was making in response to her mistake, not a consequence of it. As if I was the one giving up. I didn't reply. I needed clarity first. And I wasn't going to get that from her, not when she was still busy rewriting the narrative in real time. So I called Matt. He answered on the first ring. Hey, he said, voice cautious. Man, I don't even know what to say. How long have you known? I asked. Silence. Matt. A few weeks. I closed my eyes, nodding to myself. So when you sent me that party invite? I didn't know he'd be there, I swear, he said quickly. I thought she ended it. I told her to tell you. I begged her to. But she just kept saying she needed time and I didn't think it was my place. It was my marriage. I know. I screwed up. I didn't want to be the guy who blew it up. She blew it up, I snapped. You just stood there and handed her the matches. I'm sorry, Kyle. Yeah, I said, hanging up. So am I. I drove home around sunset not because I wanted to, but because I needed to face her again. Not to fight. Not even to listen. But because I needed to be absolutely sure that the person I married no longer existed. And when I opened the front door, I got my confirmation. She was on the couch with her phone, and the moment she saw me, she jumped up, teary-eyed, moving like she thought this was going to be a reconciliation scene. It wasn't. I want you to move out, I said. Her mouth opened. Closed. Kyle, don't it? I'm not doing this hot and cold game with you. You cheated. You manipulated. You involved my friends. And now you're pretending it was just a mistake that we can talk our way out of over coffee. She stepped forward. I panicked, okay? I felt like I was fading away. Like you didn't see me anymore. Right, I said coldly. So to feel seen, you needed to sit on someone else's lap. Got it. You're not even trying to understand. There's nothing to understand. You lit the match, Jenny. You let it burn. And now you're angry that I didn't bring a fire extinguisher. She scoffed. So that's it? You're just gonna give up on us. There's no us, Jenny. Not anymore. You ended that the second you looked at me across that room like I was the one interrupting. She wiped her face, sniffed. You're making a mistake. No, I said, grabbing my bag. You did. I'm just finally choosing not to clean it up for you. I left again that night. Not to a friend's. Not to a hotel. I just drove until I found a place with a vacancy and silence. I laid down on a stiff mattress, staring at a popcorn ceiling with no history, no memories. And for the first time in weeks, I felt still. Not healed. Not okay. Just still. The next morning started in unfamiliar silence. Not the kind that feels peaceful, but the kind that makes your heartbeat sound louder than it should. Motel light filtering through dusty blinds, the humming air conditioner in the corner, the bland beige walls, none of it felt like anything. Which, in a weird way, was exactly what I needed. There were no pictures of us on the nightstand. No smell of her perfume lingering in the sheets. No memories carved into the furniture. Just nothing. I took a long shower, standing under the water until it went lukewarm. I didn't think. I didn't rush. I just stood there, letting it rinse off whatever was left of the last 48 hours. By the time I checked my phone, I had another 5 missed calls. 4 from Jenny. 1 from Tara. And 1 voicemail. I played it on speaker while I sat at the tiny motel desk, staring out the window. Jenny's voice, thick with tears. I know I've lost you. I know I broke everything. But Kyle, if there's even 1% of you that wants to talk, just talk, please. I'm not asking to fix it right now. I need to see you. I need you to look at me and tell me it's really over. Don't do this from a motel room. Please. She wasn't wrong. I was in a motel room. I hadn't told her where. I didn't plan to. I didn't delete the message. But I didn't call her back either. What would I even say? That I still woke up thinking she was beside me? That I still instinctively reached for my phone to send her a stupid meme? That some disgusting part of me still wanted to know if she missed me? I hated that I cared. I hated that she made me care even now. Later that day, I got coffee with Matt. I needed to look him in the eye. Needed to see if any of this felt like a betrayal to him too. We sat at a place we used to frequent as a group back when weekends meant brunch and laughter and inside jokes that felt like they'd last forever. Now the air between us felt like concrete. He looked awful. Unshaved. Bags under his eyes. like guilt was feeding on him from the inside out. I should have told you, he said, barely touching his drink. Yeah, I said. You should have. He nodded. No defense. No excuse. I thought she'd tell you. She swore she would. I gave her a deadline. I raised an eyebrow. You gave my wife a deadline to confess she was screwing someone else behind my back? He cringed. When you put it like that. How else should I put it, Matt? I didn't want to be the guy who broke your marriage. I leaned in. You weren't. You were the guy who stood on the sidelines while she did. He looked down. Guilty. Hollow. I'm sorry, man. I really am. Are you still friends with her? I asked. He didn't answer right away. And that was an answer on its own. Right, I said, standing up. Thanks for the coffee. Kyle, wait. Don't throw everything away because of this. There's nothing left to throw, I said coldly. It's already broken. You were just holding the broom. I left him there. Just like I left Jenny. That's what I was doing now, it seemed, leaving people. Drawing lines in the sand that should have been drawn long ago. Later that night, I got a text from Jenny's sister, Rachel. We hadn't spoken much over the years, but she always liked me more than she liked her own sister, I think. Rachel, I don't know if you care, but Jenny's a mess. She's not sleeping. She's not eating. I'm not saying that to make you feel bad, I just thought you should know. I stared at the message for a long time. I typed back. She made her choices. Now she's living with them. Same as me. I didn't hit send. I deleted it. I powered off the phone completely and just sat in the room. There was a mirror across from the bed, one of those tall ones bolted into the wall. I looked into it for a long time, just trying to see myself again. Not the husband. Not the fool. Just Kyle. And I swear, for the first time in days, I saw someone I almost recognized. Someone who was angry, yes. Wrecked, sure. But not destroyed. Not finished. Not yet. 3 days after the party, I went home. Not to move back in, not even close, but to get my things. Essentials. Some clothes, work gear, my laptop, a few files I couldn't leave sitting on the desk. I texted her first. Told her I'd be coming by in the morning and I didn't want any conversation. She replied with a single word. Okay. When I got there, her car was in the driveway, but the house was silent. I stepped inside and for a second it felt like a crime scene. Everything looked untouched, frozen in time. A mug still on the table from 2 days ago. My jacket still on the hook. Her cardigan tossed on the back of a chair. Our wedding photo on the shelf, angled perfectly like nothing had changed. Except everything had. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, standing at the counter barefoot, wearing the hoodie she always stole from me. Her hair was tied back messily. She didn't look at me right away. She just stood there with a cup in her hand like it was an anchor. I moved past her without saying a word. Walked down the hall, into the bedroom. Started pulling things from drawers, socks, shirts, sweats. I moved like a robot, mechanical and cold. And then I found it. In the back of her closet, on the shelf behind a box of Christmas lights, her old phone. The one she lost 6 months ago and claimed she never found again. My stomach turned. I stared at it for a moment, the screen dull and dusty. A relic. And yet, something in me just knew that phone held more answers than her mouth ever would. I took it. When I walked back out, she was waiting by the living room, arms folded like she could feel it, like she knew I'd found it. What's that? She asked quietly. I met her eyes. The phone you said was stolen. She didn't say anything. Not right away. Then. I didn't think you'd find it. My voice was ice. And if I turn it on? What am I gonna see, Jenny? She swallowed. Hard. I don't know, she said, which meant she absolutely knew. I stared at her. She looked so small, standing there with that fake vulnerability, that practiced helplessness. I saw through it now. Every time she cried, every time she leaned into me like I was her savior, it wasn't love. It was control. She needed to be the center of everything, even her own shame. Did you ever love me? I asked. She blinked, caught off guard. What? It's a simple question. Her eyes welled up again. Of course I did. Then why does everything you've done scream the opposite? She stepped forward, hands out like she was reaching for something that no longer existed. I got lost, she whispered. Somewhere along the way I stopped knowing how to talk to you. I felt invisible. So instead of using words, you used someone else's lap. She flinched, but I didn't care. I wanted her to feel it. I begged you to talk to me, Jenny. I asked you so many times if something was wrong. And you lied. Again and again. I didn't want to hurt you. You didn't want to get caught. And then I said it. The one thing I hadn't let myself say until that moment. I don't trust you. Not a little. Not even in pieces. That hit her. Hard. Her knees buckled slightly and she sat down on the couch without speaking. You want to save this? I said, voice calm cruel. Start by telling me who else there was. She looked up confused. I leaned forward. Was it just him? Her lips parted. She hesitated. And in that hesitation I knew. I stood back, breath catching. Jesus. I didn't mean for it to become that, she said quickly. It was before Mark. It was just a couple times. It didn't mean anything. Stop. I'm being honest now. No, I said louder. You're being desperate now. That's not the same thing. She was crying fully now, but I felt nothing. Just this hollow ache in my chest, this buzzing silence in my ears. I turned to leave, the old phone in my pocket, my duffel in hand. Kyle, please don't hate me. I stopped in the doorway. Didn't turn around. I don't hate you, I said quietly. I pity you. And then I left. No dramatic exit. No slamming doors. Just me finally walking away from a lie that had been living in my house long before I ever opened that front door on my birthday. It was over. And now I had proof. I didn't turn the phone on until later that night. I waited until I was alone, parked at the edge of an empty lot overlooking the city, somewhere high up where the lights looked like stars and the quiet could suffocate anything loud inside of me. I sat there with that cursed little rectangle in my hand, turning it over again and again, wondering if I really wanted to know. But of course I did. I needed the truth, even if it cracked my ribs open. The screen was dead, but a quick search told me the model could still take a charge. So I bought a cheap cable from a 24-hour gas station, plugged it into my car, and waited. The moment that Apple logo flashed onto the screen, I felt my stomach knot up like it knew exactly what was coming. When the lock screen appeared, no password. She never expected me to find it. Or maybe she forgot it even existed, buried so deep behind her holiday decorations like the past wouldn't eventually rot its way to the surface. The phone was old, but the messages were there. All of them. And Mark, he wasn't the beginning. He was the third. There was a guy named Caleb. Conversations dated almost 8 months back. Long texts. Secret photos. Inside jokes. Details that didn't just reek of something physical, they screamed emotional intimacy. Hotel bookings. Hidden meetups. A weekend she said she spent at her sister's cabin but clearly hadn't. Then came a guy named Troy. A bartender she met during a girls' night. I distinctly remember her swearing was uneventful. Another string of texts. A few selfies. A saved contact under a fake name, Megan Nails. I laughed out loud when I saw it. Ugly laughter. Bitter and jagged. I scrolled deeper. There were voice memos, nothing outright graphic, but plenty that made it clear where her heart had been. Flirty tones. Complaints about me. He's always at work, one message said. He doesn't notice when I wear something new anymore. Another one, it's like I'm married to a schedule, not a person. No mention of how she'd stopped talking to me altogether. How she walked around the house like a ghost with a locked phone and a smile that wasn't mine. When I found the folder in her notes app titled My Little Escapes, I almost didn't open it. But I did. Inside were fragments. Short journal entries. Half poems. Fantasies. Lists of places she wanted to go with someone who looks at me like I matter. One entry detailed a night she said she'd never forget, describing a man who actually listens and makes me feel like I still exist. It wasn't me. Not once. Not even in passing. I turned the phone off. Sat in the dark with my head against the window, the city lights smudging like tears. I hadn't cried yet. I don't know how long I stayed like that, maybe minutes, maybe hours, but by the time I started the car again, something inside me had changed. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was done. Done hoping. Done doubting. Done wondering if maybe, just maybe, I'd missed a sign. I hadn't. I'd seen them all. I just didn't want to believe they meant what they clearly did. I went back to the motel, tossed the phone on the bed like it was burning me. I stared at the ceiling fan above, letting it spin around like the thoughts in my head, but now they had structure. Order. Direction. I opened my laptop. Started looking up divorce attorneys. Typed out an email to a firm my coworker once mentioned during his own split. I gave them a brief summary, requested a consultation, and hit send. Then I packed my bag. Not to leave this time, to start. There was no salvaging anything with her. No therapy, no second chances, no dramatic reunions in the rain. This wasn't a break. This was the end. I wasn't mourning the marriage anymore. I was burying it. And the shovel was in my hands. The lawyer's office was on the 15th floor of a building downtown, cold and polished and eerily quiet. The receptionist greeted me like I was a regular, like she could already tell why I was there. That sterile sympathy you get from people who've seen 1,000 men walk in with the same hollow stare. I met with a man named Jonathan Walsh. Late 40s, calm, sharp suit, a face carved from experience. He didn't offer fake comfort. He didn't say, "I'm sorry to hear that." He just nodded as I sat down and opened a clean file folder. So, he said, fingers steepled, tell me what happened. I didn't tell him the long version. I didn't talk about the red dress, the party, the couch. I didn't mention Mark or Caleb or Troy or the second phone with a graveyard of memories that wasn't mine. I just said, my wife cheated. Multiple times. I want out. He nodded, scribbled something, and asked, is there property? Yes. The house. In both our names. Children? No. Joint accounts? Yeah, one. But we've kept most things separate. He paused, looked up at me. Do you have proof of the infidelity? I took out the burner phone, slid it across the desk. He didn't even open it. Just placed it beside his notes. That'll be more than enough. It was weird signing paperwork about your life like it's just another contract. No ceremony. No tears. Just bullet points, initials, and a cold black pen signing away a future that had been dead for a long time. By the time I walked out of that office, the sun was already setting again. 2 full days since I last saw her face. And yet it still haunted every corner of my thoughts. I went back to the motel, packed my things, and checked out without a second glance. I couldn't sleep there anymore. It had done its job. It gave me space. Now I needed peace. Matt texted me that night. Matt, she's been calling me nonstop. I told her to back off. Just so you know. I didn't respond. 15 minutes later, another text came through. Matt, you okay, man? I stared at it. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. Finally, I sent. Me, yeah. Just done pretending I'm not furious. The next morning, Jenny showed up at my office. She must have waited outside because the second I stepped out for lunch, she was there leaning against the brick wall, sunglasses on, arms crossed like she was still playing the misunderstood heroine in some drama she wrote for herself. Kyle, she said, pulling her shades off. Can we talk? I sighed. No. Not here. I just want 5 minutes. Please. I looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time since this all began, she looked tired. Not fake mascara smudge tired. Soul tired. But the part of me that used to soften at her weakness? It was gone. You've got 3, I said. She blinked, startled. Okay. Look, I know there's no excuse. I know what I did. But you walking away like I never mattered. Jenny, I interrupted, stop trying to shape this into a story where you're the one who got left behind. You burned the house down. Don't act surprised when I walk out of the flames. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I continued. I found the old phone. The blood drained from her face. Kyle, that was Don't. Just don't. There were others. You lied every time I looked you in the eye. I didn't love them, she said quietly. But you chose them. Repeatedly. That's worse. She looked around like the sidewalk might give her an escape. I can't fix this, can I? No. She nodded slowly. So that's it? You're just done. I was done the moment you made me feel like a stranger in my own life. Silence. Then she did something that would have broken me once. She stepped closer. Just close enough for me to see her shaking. I'll always love you, she said, voice trembling. And for the first time, I didn't believe her. I stepped back. You don't even love yourself, Jenny. That's why you keep filling holes with people who don't matter. She wiped her face quickly. You're really not coming back? I already left, I said. You just didn't notice. And then I walked past her. Didn't look back. Didn't turn around. Let her watch me disappear into the crowd just like she disappeared from our marriage, one selfish choice at a time. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork, silence, and a strange kind of freedom that didn't feel like victory, it felt like recovery. People talk about healing like it's some beautiful, upward journey. It's not. It's brutal. It's sitting in your car outside the grocery store because you suddenly remembered how she used to hum while picking out apples. It's pulling your hoodie from the dryer and catching her scent in the fabric. It's deleting old playlists because every song feels like a betrayal now. But somewhere between all the grief and numbness, clarity started to creep in. Not quickly. Not loudly. But it showed up in little things. I started going to the gym again, not out of anger, not for revenge. Just for me. I cleaned out the garage. Finally tossed all the stuff she said she'd get around to. I made a new bank account. Switched the locks. Found a new apartment downtown with light I could breathe in. I didn't tell anyone where I was moving, not even Matt. Not because I didn't trust him, I just needed something mine again. Something untouched. The divorce process wasn't messy, surprisingly. She didn't fight. Didn't ask for much. I think a part of her wanted it over as badly as I did. Or maybe guilt finally started weighing more than control. When we met to sign the final papers, it was in a quiet, beige room at Walsh's office. No drama. No screaming. She looked like she hadn't slept in a week. I walked in, nodded, sat down. She stared at the documents. Then at me. I miss you, she whispered. I didn't reply. I just took the pen and signed. She waited, hoping for something. I don't know what, a fight, a confession, an emotional Hail Mary to stop the bleeding. But I had no blood left for her. When I stood to leave, she reached out instinctively. I stepped back. Goodbye, Jenny. That was it. She didn't follow me out. Didn't beg. Didn't cry. Just sat there, alone, in the ruins she built herself. I got into my car, stared at the sky, and exhaled something I didn't know I'd been holding in. Not just pain, identity. Like I'd been carrying her weight for years and only now realized it wasn't mine. That night I celebrated. Not with drinks. Not with friends. Just me. A decent dinner. My phone off. A playlist I built from scratch, songs that weren't ours. Just mine. I listened not to remember but to remind myself that I wasn't done. That I hadn't lost everything. Just what wasn't meant to stay. A week later I bumped into Tara. It was at a gas station of all places. She looked shocked to see me, like she wasn't sure if I'd punch her or pretend she didn't exist. I didn't know what to do, she blurted out before I even spoke. I didn't want to take sides, E. You didn't have to take sides, I cut in. You just had to be honest. I tried, she said, eyes full of regret. I told her she was spiraling. I told her to stop. But you didn't tell me. She nodded slowly. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I don't hate you, I said. But don't expect to hear from me again. She swallowed that. Didn't argue. Just nodded and walked away. And that was it. Another door closed. Quietly. And I kept walking forward. Each day felt a little less like survival and a little more like reclaiming. I started to laugh again. Really laugh. Not out of bitterness, but out of actual joy. The kind that sneaks up on you when you're eating your favorite sandwich alone in a park and you realize no one's lying to you anymore. No one's cheating. No one's hiding. The air tastes better when no one's feeding you poison behind a smile. I'm not healed. I don't know if I ever will be in full. But I'm healing. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. The first time I looked in the mirror and saw someone I recognized again, it was raining. I'd just come back from a long walk, no umbrella, no coat, just me and the sky opening up like it was washing something off me. I stepped inside my new apartment, dripping and laughing quietly at myself. For once, the rain didn't feel symbolic. It was just water. Just weather. I peeled off my soaked hoodie, looked in the bathroom mirror, and there he was, me. Not the shell of a husband. Not the man betrayed. Not the guy everyone pitted at that party. Just Kyle. I didn't look stronger. I didn't look wiser. I looked lighter. Like I'd finally set something down that I should have never been carrying in the first place. It's wild how long you can walk around wearing someone else's version of you, bending, folding, shrinking to fit into the shape they prefer. Jenny never outright asked me to be less, but every time I spoke and wasn't heard, every time I reached out and she turned inward, I learned to quiet myself. To settle. And the worst part? I thought that was love. Turns out real love doesn't require you to disappear. I haven't spoken to her since the divorce was finalized. I don't plan to. I don't check her socials. Don't ask mutual friends how she's doing. That chapter's closed and I've finally stopped trying to reread the last sentence like maybe it'll mean something new the 100th time around. It doesn't. Sometimes I still get these phantom memories, her laugh from another room, the feel of her hand in mine, the sound of her key in the front door. Ghosts, really? But they don't haunt me like they used to. They pass through. I let them. I nod. I move on. I still have the old phone. I haven't looked at it since that night. It sits in a drawer somewhere, not out of spite, but as a reminder. Not of her, but of me. Of the man who finally stopped ignoring the truth. I'm dating again. Slowly. Carefully. Without performance. The first few dates were weird. I'd catch myself bracing for lies, scanning texts for hidden codes, analyzing pauses in conversations like they were signs of incoming betrayal.